Hello and welcome to Wavescan, the international DX program from Adventist World Radio. Researched and written in Indianapolis by Dr. Adrian Peterson and produced in the studios of WRMI Shortwave in Okeechobee, Florida. Today on Wavescan, the 100th anniversary of the Panama Canal, the radio story, part 2. The Calcutta radio story, QSL cards and letters. A special QSL card from China's Fire Drake Jammer. And our Philippine DX report. 2 weeks back, we presented part 1 in this 2-part series of topics on the story of radio broadcasting in the Panama Canal Zone, in honor of the 100th anniversary of the opening of the Panama Canal in Central America. Today we complete the Panama Canal Zone story, and we pick up the historic radio information regarding radio program broadcasting from this narrow slice of tropical territory. But first we present the outline story of one of America's well-known early wireless stations. Back in August 1918, the American Navy inaugurated their first high-powered wireless station in the Panama Canal Zone. The station, rated at 200 kilowatts, was launched under an American Navy call sign, NPJ, though this was soon afterwards regularized to the better-known NBA. The station location for NBA was always given as Balboa, though originally it was located in the Darien district, about halfway along the canal. When electronic valve equipment was installed at a new location in 1929, a new call sign was allotted, NDG. The transmitter was at the Summit, and the receiver station was located across the canal at Farfan. However, a do-it-yourself typed QSL card verifies the usage of the call sign NBA in 1972. Reception of NBA, as heard in the United States, was on July 27th, and the frequency was 17697.5 kilohertz, with a power of 5 kilowatts. Around the same time, the American Army established a communication station at Quarry Heights under the call sign WVL, and the purpose for this facility was intercommunication with other Army stations in the area. However, in 1940, a small, low-powered broadcasting transmitter was co-installed with station WVL in the basement of the Army barracks for the purpose of disseminating Army information to Army outposts. In January of the following year, 1941, Army personnel began broadcasting music over the small transmitter for the entertainment of Army personnel. The unofficial call sign was PCAC, standing for Panama Canal Artillery Command. Daily broadcasts of news were taken from the Panama Star and Herald, and on Sundays, news was read from the latest available issue of Time magazine. This small, unofficial, irregular, and unlicensed radio broadcasting station is considered to be the first American Army entertainment station, a forerunner to AFRS, the Armed Forces Radio Service. Regular programming began in April, and it was carried on 2 channels in parallel, WVL shortwave and WVUB medium wave. In an attempt to obtain additional suitable programming, the staff wrote to the NBC network in the United States requesting recordings, and soon afterwards, almost 1 ton of pre-recorded program discs arrived at the station in Quarry Heights. However, a few months later, on Pearl Harbor Day, December 7th, 1941, the Panama station was closed so that it could not be used as a homing beacon for incoming enemy bombers. The radio broadcasting station was reopened with new imported equipment as a regular unit of the AFRS network a little over a year later at the same location in Fort Clayton. That was in March 1943, and 4 broadcast transmitters were now available. WVL with 5 kilowatts on 790 kilohertz with regular programming, WVUB with 1/4 kilowatt on 1420 kilohertz with a parallel relay, WVUC, also 1/4 kilowatt on 1480 kilohertz, had occasional special programming, and WVL with 0.4 kilowatts on 2380 kilohertz, which was subsequently modified to 2390 kilohertz. At the same time as the new station was installed at Fort Clayton, a relay station was installed at Fort Gulick on the Atlantic coast of the Canal Zone. The station radiated with 1 kilowatt on 1420 kilohertz. Then in 1948, the entire facility at Fort Clayton was transferred to a permanent home into Building 209 at this same Army barracks. According to entries in the World Radio TV Handbook, the twin AFRS medium wave stations located at Fort Clayton and Fort Gulick, or Fort Davis under its newer name, were closed sometime around the year 1971. We would suggest that the programming was still on the air for the next many years, though now only in the standard FM band 2. During the short era of military confrontation between the United States and President Manuel Noriega of Panama in December 1989, the United States implemented its psychological warfare procedures under the project title Operation Just Cause. The active FM station or stations at the American base or bases carried programming of special music and information for this purpose, beginning on December 20th. In addition, the Americans activated a medium wave station, the previous 5 kilowatt AFRS unit possibly, and it was on the air under the identification slogan Radio Liberación. There was also a mobile radio transmitter on the air under the identification slogan Voice of Liberty. These temporary stations ended their service under Operation Just Cause when hostilities culminated a little over a week later, on December 29th. Just a very few QSLs from the AFRS stations in the Panama Canal Zone are known. And these were letters from WVL Quarry Heights on shortwave in the immediate post-war era.
You're listening to Wavescan from Adventist World Radio. Send your comments and reception reports to Wavescan, Box 29235, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46229 in the United States. That's Wavescan, Box 29235, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46229 in the USA. Or you can email us at wavescan@awr.org. Our email once again, wavescan@awr.org.
In our program today, we present Part 5 in the 5-part series on the wireless and radio history in Calcutta, or Kolkata, area in the Indian state of West Bengal. Calcutta was the capital city for India for a period of time up until a little over 100 years ago, when the national capital was transferred to New Delhi. In this, our final report on the Kolkata scene, we draw attention to the many QSL cards and letters that have been issued by All India Radio in Kolkata. The QSL collection in Indianapolis holds more than 300 QSL cards and letters from Indian radio broadcasting stations, and more than 30 are from Kolkata itself. The oldest Calcutta QSL is dated in the year 1935. It is a letter addressed to an international radio monitor who was living in Christchurch, New Zealand. The small-style letterhead itself states that it was issued by the Calcutta station of the Indian State Broadcasting Service, and this was in the era before the now familiar All India Radio was established. At the time, station VUC was on the air medium wave with 2.5 kilowatts on 810 kilohertz and with 2 kilowatts on 6110 kilohertz, though the QSL letter does not specify which outlet was logged by the listener in New Zealand. Next, VUC issued a form letter QSL, and our copy is dated in 1938 when the shortwave unit VUC2 was operating at 10 kilowatts with a daily schedule of 4850 kilohertz morning and evening and 9530 kilohertz during the day. Their first QSL card was the Silver Logo Network card, which showed Calcutta with the same 3 frequencies, medium wave and shortwave. In the 1970s, AIR Calcutta was issuing picture postcards with the QSL text in the left panel on the address side of the card. Those cards, issued from Calcutta, showed local Calcutta scenes such as the Howrah Bridge and the Victoria Memorial. Those cards, issued from the AIR headquarters in New Delhi on behalf of Calcutta, portrayed any number of colorful scenes all throughout India. Many of the other Kolkata QSL cards in the Indianapolis Heritage Collection are self-prepared postal cards with the QSL text rubber-stamped onto the blank side. We should also mention that the Kolkata QSL cards verify some 20 different medium wave, shortwave, and FM channels with power ratings ranging from 2.5 kilowatts through 10, 20, and 50 kilowatts up to 1,000 kilowatts over a period of 3/4 of a century.
The next generation of shortwave broadcasting has begun. Broadcasting news, culture, and perspective 24 hours a day on 93.95 kilohertz. Learn how we are changing your listening world at www.global24radio.com.
A new shortwave service went on the air on November 1st. Global 24 Radio has a mixture of new and well-known programs and around-the-clock English language programming. The broadcast can be heard 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 9395 kilohertz on WRMI, broadcasting from Okeechobee, Florida.
This is Global 24 Radio, broadcasting on WRMI in Okeechobee, Florida. You are tuned to 9395 kilohertz in the 31-meter band. Visit www.global24radio.com for more information.
Phil Workman, General Manager of Global 24, said, "We're very excited about launching Global 24 and the important contributions it will make to shortwave radio listening, as both a medium worth preserving and a vital part of the modern media mix for so many listeners around the world. Our broadcast will appeal to dedicated shortwave listeners all over the world looking for breaking news, opinion, and music."
From Miami, Florida, this is Global 24 Breaking News, broadcasting on 9395 kilohertz. Now, for the headlines.
Global 24 says it is aiming to revitalize the shortwave medium by bringing general interest news and entertainment into sharper focus. Programs include a daily mailbag show, news from the EU News Network, programming from Radio France International and the World Radio Network, Focus Asia Pacific and other programs from PCJ Radio International, old-time radio drama, Shakespeare on shortwave, amateur radio and DX programs, Switzerland in sound, and a variety of musical programs from classical to jazz. Global 24 has a listeners club, sponsors, and a web store. They're also on Facebook and Twitter. The Global 24 website is www.global24radio.com. The frequency again is 9395 kilohertz, 24 hours per day. And here's part of what Jeffrey Bowman had to say on Global 24 in his welcome broadcast on the first day of transmission.
Welcome to Global 24 Radio. I'm Jeffrey Bowman. Tonight, our first night on the air. We're happy you're here. We're excited to be broadcasting worldwide on shortwave on 9395 kilohertz. The purpose of tonight's program is really to give you an introduction to our show, to our programs, and give you a little bit of information about our station and what's driving us, and hopefully what will drive you, our listener, to engage with us, communicate with us, and ultimately learn with us as we rebroadcast programs from around the world and, of course, programs of our own creation.
Jeffrey Bowman there of Global 24 Radio.
Hello everyone, to our dear shortwave listeners. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to the November 9th edition of the Philippine DX News. This report number 93. I'm Henry Umada in Bacolod City, Negros Occidental, Central Philippines. Glad to be back and thank you for listening. First, I would like to thank our DXer friends for sending the reception reports. Mr. Pradeep Chandra Kondo in Tripura, India, and Mr. Heinz Herring in Kappenbergs, Austria. Thank you very much. Reception logs for October 2014. October 4, NHK World Radio Japan on 15735 in English from Uzbekistan. at 1420, SIO 444. October 5, Adventist World Radio on 17550 in Ilocano from Guam at 1041 UTC, SIO 433. October 6, Radio Voice of Vietnam on 12020 in English at 1147, SIO 333. October 10, KBS World Radio on 9570 in English at 0810, SIO 232. October 13, Adventist World Radio on 15320 in English from Guam at 2235, SIO 444. October 13, Radio Free Asia, IBB on 12140 in Burmese from Saipan at 1340, SIO 444. October 29, Radio Habana, Cuba on 11880 in Spanish at 2245, SIO 343. And October 30, WEWN on 13830 in English from Bandaibar, USA at 2200, SIO 444. B14 schedule in English to Asia, Radio New Zealand International, midnight to 0458 15720. Vatican Radio to Asia, 0140 to 0159 7410 via Uzbekistan, 0300 to 0400 15470 via Oman. KBS World Radio to Asia, 0200 to 0300 9690, 0800 to 0900 9570, and 1600 to 1700 9640. Radio Taiwan to Asia, 0300 to 0400 15320, and 1100 to 1200 7445 kilowatts. Voice of Mongolia to Asia, 0900 to 0930 12085 kilowatts, and 1530 to 1600 12015 kilowatts. Radio Japan, 1000 to 1030 9625 kilohertz. KNLS Alaska, 1000 to 1100 9615 kilowatts. Voice of Indonesia, 1000 to 1100 9526 kilohertz. Voice of Islamic Republic of Iran, 1020 to 1120 17560 and 21510 kilohertz. Reach beyond Australia, 1115 to 1130 Sunday to Tuesday and Friday, 11590 kilohertz. Radio Thailand World Service, 1230 to 1300 9390 and 1400 to 1430 9390 kilohertz. Shokasi, Japan, 1330 to 1430 every Thursday, 60 to 0 kilohertz. We have a special QSL card just for you. For your reception report, please send to US dollar. Return postage will be greatly appreciated. And friends, if you want to get the transcript of today's Pilipinas DX News, and please visit http://pilipinasdx.wordpress.com. That's http://pilipinasdx.wordpress.com. Follow us also on Facebook, www.facebook.com/PilipinasDX. Or you may want to send us your comments, suggestions, reception logs, and informations to pilipinasdx@yahoo.com. That's PILIPINASDX for pilipinasdx@yahoo.com. This has been Henry Maday for Wavescan in Bacolod City, Negros Occidental, Central Philippines, saying mabuhay at maraming salamat po.
The August issue of the Australian DX News informs us that the huge shortwave transmitter site at Vertachtal in Germany will be completely demolished by the end of this year. Demolition began last May. No decision has yet been made as to the disposal of the property itself. At the height of its usefulness, Deutsche Welle Vertachtal was on the air with a total of 16 shortwave transmitters, 14 at 500 kilowatts and 2 at 100 kilowatts. A German-made Telefunken transmitter rated at 100 kilowatts was previously on the air at the Radio Netherlands shortwave station at Flevo in Holland. This transmitter was removed and reinstalled at the Nauen site near Berlin in 2006, though installation was never completed. However, this 100 kilowatt Telefunken at Nauen will be removed, and in its place, a 500 kilowatt Telefunken RIS transmitter from Vertachtal will be installed. This to-be-installed transmitter is completely DRM capable. A recent issue of the American trade journal Radio World shows a picture of an antenna tower that has been disguised to look like a tree. This disguised tower is located in Abilene, Kansas, and it supports the receiving and transmitting antennas for local cell phone usage. A report in a Russian-language newspaper states that 2 new time zones have been inserted into the Russian Federation, effective on October 26th. One new time zone covers the area around the Volga River, and the other covers the remote areas of eastern Siberia. The Russian Federation now covers 11 time zones, and in addition, the entire country will run only on winter time as the standard time, with no summer change to daylight saving. In an economy move, Radio New Zealand International is now running its DRM shortwave transmitter only at the stated times when a downlink FM station is taking the live relay from New Zealand and relaying the signal on local FM. These local FM relays have been installed on several of the smaller island nations in the South Pacific. Christian Guibaudot in France states in a report to the DX window from Denmark that a radio broadcast is still on the air every day on shortwave from Monte Carlo. This regular broadcast is a news bulletin in the French language, and it can be heard for just 6 minutes daily from 10:58 to 11:04 UTC on 3 channels: 4363 kHz, 8728 kHz, and 13146 kHz, all in the USB upper sideband mode. The transmitter is operated by the communication station Radio Monaco at Naya, and QSL cards are available. The New Zealand DX Times states that a special radio station has been inaugurated for the benefit of the dog population. The programming content consists of training sessions for dogs and music that is likely to appeal to dogs. This new radio broadcasting station is located in Auckland at the North Island of New Zealand, and it's on the air 24 hours a day on 87.7 FM. The call sign, rather appropriately, is K9 FM. A recent issue of the Finnish radio magazine, Radio Maailma, states that the 2-tower directional antenna system for Vatican Radio on 1530 kHz was demolished on the morning of May 8th earlier this year. This transmission was previously on the air from the extraterritorial site at Santa Maria de Galeria, some 20 miles north from the city of Rome. This medium-wave facility was closed 3 years ago due to fears of radio frequency radiation in the local area, and it has been inactive ever since. News reports in recent times state that the well-known Radio Shack, with all of its radio sales shops throughout the United States, is ailing financially. One news report states that the long-term survival of Radio Shack, with its more than 7,000 locations, is in jeopardy. And they have always sold a lot of shortwave receivers, by the way. World Christian Broadcasting in Franklin, Tennessee, announced recently that a new transmitter is under installation at their shortwave station near Anchor Point in Alaska, KNLS. The original old 100-kilowatt Harris was removed recently to make way for the installation of the new transmitter. Some years ago, World Christian Broadcasting procured 3 Continental transmitters for installation at their new station in Madagascar. However, due to bureaucratic delays in Madagascar, these 3 transmitters have remained in storage at the Continental factory in Dallas, Texas. In the meantime, WCB has diverted one of these transmitters, already paid for installation at their facility in Alaska. It's expected to be inaugurated early in the new year. For those who would like to do so, you may obtain a QSL card verifying their second transmitter, which still remains on the air, a 100-kilowatt unit that was installed 3 years ago. Mr. Omar Kvik of Norrköping in Sweden states that he was listening to a radio broadcasting station on 21660 kHz back in September 2005, though there was a Chinese Fire Drake jammer on the same channel. The emission from this jamming transmitter was aimed against the programming from the BBC in an attempt to make reception in China impossible. Olmar sent a report to China Radio International, CRI, in Beijing, in which he reported his reception of the Firedrake jammer. In their letter of reply, they denied the existence of this transmission. In return, Olmar resubmitted his reception report on the Firedrake jammer, and on his second occasion, China Radio International issued a QSL card to him, verifying their programming on 21660 kHz, though no reference was made to the Firedrake programming. Firedrake programming is an hour-long program of Chinese classical music that is distributed by satellite for broadcast by standard shortwave transmitters that are used to jam undesired incoming programming from another country. Well, this colorful QSL card that we mentioned shows an adult Chinese pangolin with a juvenile on its back, and the standard QSL text verifies the CRI transmission on 21660 kHz at 1216 UTC on September 19, 2005. Mr. Olmar Kvik states that a QSL card verifying a jamming transmission is very rare. And in keeping with our Focus on Asia theme this year, we end with music from Malaysia. This is the theme song from the Visit Malaysia theme of the Malaysian Tourist Authorities for 2014. Thanks for listening to Wavescan, the international DX program from Adventist World Radio, researched and written in Indianapolis by Adrian Peterson. Next week, a tribute to shortwave WYFR, Part 13, A Historic Era, comes to an end. And, of course, we'll have more DX news from around the world. Several QSL cards are available for your reports on this program. Send your AWR and KSDA reception reports for Wavescan to the AWR address in Indianapolis, and also to the station your radio is tuned to, WRMI, or WWCR, or KVOH, or to the AWR relay stations that carry Wavescan. Remember, too, that you can send a reception report to each of the DX reporters when their segment is on the air here in Wavescan: Japan, Bangladesh, the Philippines, Australia, and India. They will verify with a colorful QSL card. Return postage and an address label are always appreciated. The Wavescan address is Box 29235, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46229, USA. That's Wavescan, Box 29235, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46229, USA. Our email address is wavescan@awr.org. That's wavescan@awr.org. I'm Jeff White at WRMI Shortwave. Till next week, good listening, everyone.